Hi, this is Matt Baker. A few weeks ago, I posted a video on the earliest depictions of Jesus in art. As usual, I used the term CE for the dates instead of AD. And boy, did I get a lot of comments about it. Here are a few examples. CE is an atheist term created recently. AD is the very long-standing, traditional, and correct term. Another person wrote, ironic that you're talking about Jesus, but insist on using the politically correct CE instead of saying AD. Stop trying to erase Jesus from history. Now note that these comments make the following assumptions. Number one, that the term CE was created by atheists. Two, that it was created recently. 3, that using CE is an attempt to be politically correct. And 4, that the goal is to erase Jesus from history. But here's the thing. All 4 of these assumptions are false. I therefore thought it would be a good idea to cover the true history of the term CE, including who popularized it and why. As I've mentioned several times on this channel, I happen to be Jewish. I wasn't born Jewish, but I converted a few years ago through the official process. Now, if you know anything about Judaism, you're probably aware of the fact that Jews take words very seriously. The most well-known example being the custom of never pronouncing the 4-letter name of God out loud. It should therefore not come as too much of a surprise for you to learn that it was not atheists who popularized the terms BCE and CE. It was actually Jews. And Jews have been using them for about 200 years. Let me tell you why. BC, of course, stands for before Christ, and AD stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of the Lord. Now note that neither of these terms uses the name Jesus. Instead, they use the terms Christ and the Lord, both of which are very theological in nature. Now, unlike what some people think, Christ is not Jesus's last name. The word Christ is actually the Greek version of the Hebrew word Mashiach, or Messiah, which literally means the anointed one. You see, for Jews in ancient times, there was a belief that God would one day send a human leader to reestablish Jewish independence and usher in a permanent age of global peace. Now, some Jews today are still waiting for this literal Messiah, whereas many other Jews, such as me, for example, now understand the idea as being strictly a metaphor. But in either case, Jews do not see Jesus as being the promised Messiah. Even more problematic is the phrase, the Lord. For us Jews, we use this phrase to refer to God and God alone. It therefore goes against our religious beliefs to use it to refer to Jesus, who we see as being simply a human. So here's the important point. For Jews, we don't mind measuring the years from the approximate date of Jesus' birth. And we're not trying to hide the fact that the dating system is centered on Jesus. We simply don't want to use the words Christ and Domini. Had the terms been BBJ, before the birth of Jesus, and ABJ, after the birth of Jesus, there would have been no need to come up with BCE and CE, because we don't mind saying Jesus. For us, Jesus is just a name, and it carries no theological weight. In fact, it's a Jewish name, being the equivalent of Yeshua or Joshua. But history did not give us BBJ and ABJ. It gave us BC and AD. So, around 200 years ago, Jews started to use the terms BCE and CE on a regular basis whenever referring to the Christian calendar. The term Common Era had actually been used previously, but it was Jews during the 19th century who were the first to use it consistently. The word common simply refers to the fact that the dating system is the one that is used in common by people all over the world, regardless of whether or not they are Christian. Now, we Jews, like those from other religions, have our own calendar, which we use for religious purposes. But for things like commerce and everyday scheduling with everyone else on the planet, it makes more sense to use the Christian calendar, which has become the common system that most people use. So, ironically, the terms BCE and CE did not originate because a certain group of people wanted to be politically correct. They originated because a certain group of people wanted to be religiously correct, at least correct according to their own religion, Judaism. Now, obviously, if we zoom ahead to today, it's no longer just Jews who are using the new terms. In fact, in many academic circles, BCE and CE have become the new standard terms, at least in the English-speaking world. But again, this is not due to some conspiracy led by atheists who want to erase Jesus from history. I think most people who use the new terms simply like the fact that they are theologically neutral. Such people, like myself, are fully aware that the system is still based on the approximate birth year of Jesus. Like I said, no one is trying to hide this fact. It's simply a matter of wanting to avoid terms that are not really suitable for multi-religious conversations, or especially non-religious conversations. Personally, I've noticed that many atheists don't really care that much about the whole AD versus CE debate. In fact, I've heard many atheists state that they actually prefer AD simply because they're used to it. This actually makes sense because if a person doesn't believe in God, then all theological terms are meaningless anyway. But you see, for us Jews, it's not that easy. So the takeaway is this. If you hear someone using the terms BCE and CE, don't assume that they are doing so because they are supporting some sort of atheist agenda or that they are trying to erase Jesus from history. It could be that they are simply following their own religious beliefs, such as in my case. Or it could be that they simply support the idea of using neutral terms so that we can all talk about the date without having to worry about who believes what. Thanks for watching.